Don't use your air fryer again until you know these 5 mistakes. One ruins the crispiness, another makes your food raw, and one mistake almost everyone makes can completely change the way your food cooks. Let's start with a mistake. I'm almost certain you've made at least once deciding that food is cooked just because it looks cooked on the outside. Take this piece of meat, for example. The surface already looks beautiful. If I judged it only by appearance, I'd probably take it out of the air fryer and start eating. Instead, use an instant read food thermometer. Insert the probe into the thickest part of the meat, making sure you're measuring the center. Look at this. The internal temperature is only around 97 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, or 36 to 40 degrees Celsius. That's barely warm compared with the temperature we need for safely cooked meat. Let's prove it. I'll take the meat out, place it on the cutting board, and cut through the center. There it is. The middle is clearly still raw, so back into the air fryer it goes. Continue cooking, then check the internal temperature again instead of guessing from the color. There isn't one universal 65 to 70 degrees Celsius means cooked rule for every meat. Safe temperature depends on what you're cooking. For example, poultry should reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius. Once your specific food reaches its recommended safe internal temperature, take it out and let it rest if required. Now let's slice it again. Much better. The center is properly cooked while the meat is still beautifully juicy. So remember, color can fool your eyes. A thermometer gives you the answer. Do you normally check your meat with a thermometer, or have you always relied on how it looks? Tell me in the comments. And here's the next mistake. Treating preheating as something that never matters or something you always have to do. The truth is, it depends on what you're cooking. Chicken thighs are a perfect example. For these, I want beautifully crispy skin. So before putting the chicken in, I'm going to preheat the air fryer. I'm using 350 degrees Fahrenheit or about 180 degrees Celsius. Once the basket is hot, carefully place the seasoned chicken thighs inside. Listen to that. We're putting the chicken straight into a hot cooking environment, which helps the skin begin browning right away. Now close the basket and let the air fryer do its work. Now let's see the result. Look at that skin. It's tight, beautifully golden, and has that slightly blistered appearance we're looking for. But appearance isn't enough. Listen, that crunch. You can actually hear it crack while underneath the chicken is still juicy and tender. That's exactly the contrast we wanted. So don't think of preheating as a rule for absolutely everything. Use it strategically when you want that immediate blast of heat really matters. Here's a mistake I used to make all the time, and once I understood what was happening, I stopped doing it. Let's use one of the most popular air fryer foods as an example, French fries. We pour the potatoes into the basket. And this is where I used to make my mistake. I'd give them 1 or 2 tiny sprays of oil and think, that's enough. It's an air fryer, it doesn't need oil. But look at this amount of potatoes. A couple of sprays may not be enough to lightly coat all those surfaces. Some fries get oil while others stay completely dry, and that can contribute to uneven browning and a less satisfying exterior. The solution isn't to pour in lots of oil. It's about using just enough to lightly coat the potatoes. Add a small amount. Look closely, you don't want oil pooling at the bottom of the basket. You simply want a thin, even coating across the surfaces. Now close the basket and cook as usual. And look at the result. Golden edges, crisp surfaces, and none of that heavy, greasy feeling you get from deep frying. But there's something else happening here. Notice how evenly these fries have browned. Oil alone didn't do that. There's another mistake people make that can leave one side pale while the other gets too dark. And that's exactly what we're fixing in mistake number 4. And here's the 4th mistake, the secret behind those evenly golden fries I showed you a moment ago. Take a look at these chicken thighs. From the top, they look almost perfect, don't they? Beautifully browned skin, a golden surface, you might assume they're finished. But now, let's turn them over. Look at the difference. The underside is much paler and hasn't browned nearly as well. Air circulation helps cook all sides, but the surface facing the heating element can still brown faster. That's why certain larger foods benefit from being flipped during cooking. So halfway through, open the basket and carefully turn each chicken thigh over. Then put the basket back and continue cooking. Now, look at the final result. Both sides have developed a much more even color. Cut one open. Beautiful. Cooked through inside, juicy in the center, and nicely browned outside. But what about something small like French fries? Obviously, we're not going to stand there flipping 50 individual fries one by one. Instead, shake the basket. Halfway through cooking, pull it out and give it several good shakes. This redistributes the fries, exposing different surfaces to the circulating hot air and preventing the pieces underneath from staying trapped in the same position. Then return the basket and continue cooking. And now look at them, much more evenly golden. Pick one up and listen. Crunch. That's the sound we wanted. So remember, large pieces flip them when needed. Small, loose foods shake the basket. That simple movement can be the difference between food that's browned on one side and food that's crispy all around. And here's the final mistake, one you should pay close attention to whenever you're reheating food that dries out easily, especially day-old bread. But old bread has already lost some of its moisture. Put it straight into a hot air fryer for too long and you're removing even more. Instead of bringing the bread back to life, you can end up with something dry and hard all the way through. So here's what I do. Place the bread in the air fryer basket as usual. Now we need to replace a tiny amount of that missing moisture. Lightly spray a very small amount of water on the side of the bread, especially if the crust is dry. Don't soak it, we're talking about just enough moisture to lightly dampen the exterior. Now reheat it for a short time at a moderate temperature. And now for the test. Take the bread out. First, listen to the crust. Crunch. That's exactly what we wanted. But the real surprise is inside. Break it open. Look at that texture. The outside has become crisp again while the center is still soft and pleasantly tender instead of hard and dried out. That's the difference a little moisture and the right amount of heat can make. And those are the 5 air fryer mistakes I wanted you to stop making. Which of these 5 mistakes have you been making without realizing it? Tell me in the comments. And if this video saved your next air fryer meal, give it a like, subscribe, and share it with someone who uses their air fryer every day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.